All right, today is the day, and we are trying to wrap up a few things. Same thing as we did last week, just trying to tie up some loose ends for the end of the year so we can move on to bigger and better things. I didn't get quite as much done as I was hoping to. People coming for the holidays, those kind of things, getting ready. And speaking of the holidays, I hope you have a good Christmas and a happy New Year. We will see you at the beginning of next year with some bigger and better videos as the progress of this car continues. But anyway, as for now, let's move on, see what we did this week. Now, one of the main things I really wanted to get finished was finishing the Footwell expansion. So we need to do the passenger side, and of course, it's always easier to work on something in a vertical surface. So we're going to tip the tub on its edge and get to work on that. First thing we need to do is cut out our piece of foam to make the actual extension, which is going to be 3 inches. So we've got the 1-inch foam that we make the edges with, and then we're going to create the center of the main panel with a piece of foam core board. We don't want that foam core panel to stay there, it's going to come out. And on the other side, I use some peel ply to make the separation layer between that, but the resin, of course, bonded through the peel ply to that foam core. It was a little bit rough, kind of tearing it off. So this time, I'm going to throw in a piece of plastic underneath it, and then the peel ply, and then we'll start doing our lamination. And to do that lamination, the process is going to be that we're going to coat the whole thing with some resin just to prep it, get the surface all wet. And then we'll go around and start doing all the corners and the inside and the outside corners. So once this thing's saturated, I'm going to take some smaller strips to work the corners. And as you just put them in the corners, saturate them, go on to the corner that's next to it, keep working our way all the way around the perimeter. Now, I will mention in this that this is not particularly building the structure of the tub. This is just building us a foundation layer to work on. So it's just going to be 2 layers of cloth on the foam structure itself, and we'll put 4 layers on the foam core board where the foam's going to be, that foam core board is going to be removed. That should be, the 4 layers should be plenty stiff enough to hold a good stiff surface to work off of as we start to build our structure later on. So I actually put down all the corner edge pieces, smaller pieces, and then I put on 2 layers of over the foam core board, and then do the edges again. So between the big flat surface and the edges, we keep lapping those and building up our surface. Like I said, this is just a foundation layer to work off of when we start to really do the heavy layups for the structure of the tub itself. I also have to work around these conduit tubes that carry stuff back to the engine compartment. We're just going to laminate over them, use them as part of the structure. So now we've got all 4 layers. Well, I guess we don't. We're putting the last edge pieces on, and then we'll go to our final 2 layers on the foam core board. And once we get those on, add much resin as we need, and then go back with a squeegee, of course, and to clean up that resin, get it just the right ratio so we're not putting up too much weight. The next thing we were going to do is finish our subframe. And once we got the footwell widened out, we need to widen out our subframe as well. So I've created these new brackets. Got some parts water jet cut. And these are going to be the brackets that bolt through the side of the tub into the footwell. Made out of some 1/4-inch plate and some lighter plate for the actual bracket itself. And that'll have multiple mounting points. Now, one of the bolt holes is between these 2 upright pieces of the bracket, so there's going to be a tie brace that goes between these 2 uprights. And you'll notice it has a little bit of a round cutout so that we can access the hole behind it. Get it all tack welded together, then run our beads, weld this thing all together. Of course, once you have these smaller parts, it's much easier to weld them on the bench, because once you get it attached to the subframe, more difficult to rotate that whole frame around. And we hear the two pieces, mirror images, one for each side. Now the other part of this bracket is the part that attaches to the tubular part of the subframe that we've already got built. And if you remember, we cut the tubes off right in line with this aluminum bracket, which holds our differential. But we can now just bolt our new piece of the bracket into the plate that was existing there already. And that gives us our alignment across the plane intersecting these tubes. And then we'll weld our tubes to that piece of the bracket. Now to put those pieces, the bracket pieces we built on the bench, onto the subframe, we have to do it on the car just so we can make sure and check our alignment everywhere. So I got my lovely daughter-in-law again helping. So she's holding those in place. We've got just a spacer behind it that she can keep it spaced or gapped off of the footwell just right. And I'll tack it in place in the up and down position. And once we had it tacked, we can pull that whole thing away from the car again, get it over closer to the wheeler so I'm not pulling on those cables. And get a little more solid welding behind it. This is, once it's all attached to the subframe, it's a lot more difficult to weld. You have to kind of maneuver yourself around the welds rather than be able to rotate the parts around. But we'll get some good strong beads going through these things. Attach these brackets onto the existing subframe. And this thing will be pretty well ready to start accepting the last few things we need to add to it. These brackets should be plenty strong now. There is one place where we're going to have to add a little diagonal brace to come off the tube. Even though this is a 1/4 inch plate that we're using to build this bracket, there would still be some flex with the leverage of the suspension. So in just a moment, I'll show you the finished bracket and where that little brace needs to go. I don't have that brace cut out yet, but we will get that done and add that to our next slew of videos. Once we get that in, it'll be done. But there it is. Last thing we're going to do, once we have all this welding equipment set up and the door taken out between these two rooms, I figured I might as well just throw on some of the brackets that I've been putting off welding onto the subframe in the rear. And these, of course, are the little brackets, the little tabs that are going to hold the fuel cell in place. And believe it or not, these upright brackets for the upper strut brace never got tack welded as well. They've just been sitting on there for, I don't know, a couple months now maybe. So like I said, once I have all the stuff in there, might as well get it all tack welded in place. Like I said, we're trying to wrap this thing up, get these little things done so that when we come to the new year, we can make some major advancements on this project. We're just going to run some more heavier tack welds because we use these brackets. We can hang on to them and move things, be able to push this thing around. But still, as you see, I have the snake, the torch in between the suspension components. Makes for a difficult welding time. So, of course, we'll be able to pull all these components off in the end and weld everything finalized, painted up, reattach the components. But all our tack welds are done. We'll put this thing away. And that's our project for today. There you go. A couple of things again that we have covered in the past. And if you did see those things in the past, we will put links up here and that'll take you back to the videos that cover the same process in previous things or the beginning of something that we just finished up. Anyway, those videos will be here. Anyway, thanks for coming by and we will see you again next week.